The word unprecedented may be best to describe all of this. Who could have predicted that the San Jose Sharks might be the first pro sports team in all of North America to have to severely alter their plans and their schedule around COVID-19, the now infamous coronavirus. And yes, infamous, as in famous for a very bad reason. I'm not here to say they'll be the last team to be affected by this. In fact, with baseball season right around the corner and playoffs for the NBA and NHL and March Madness and, concerts and everything else that goes on all the time, the Sharks just might be some of the first to have to deal with this large-scale problem, this pandemic issue going on literally around the globe. But as it relates to the sporting world, let me just kind of run through the timeline here of what's been happening to bring you totally up to speed, and then we'll figure out where things stand now and what options a team like the Sharks might have. Last couple games, there have been questions surrounding if any of them would go off to plan. The county health office had made a request in Santa Clara County that they didn't want large-scale gatherings, things like religious events, church events, extracurricular school events, as well as sporting events like what the Sharks were putting on at SAP Center. Well, the Sharks did their own research and felt comfortable enough to play those games, and they did. And as of now, there don't seem to be any specific ramifications around playing those games. We move on to Monday, around 4 p.m. Pacific time, the rare joint statement from Major League Baseball, Major League Soccer, the National Basketball Association, and the National Hockey League. So 4 pro sports leagues, which are in season or kicking off their season soon, saying that altogether, they're going to close off their respective locker rooms to media in an effort to fight the spread of the coronavirus. Which, hey, as a media member myself, that's fine. I totally understand the situation. There are some side effects, I do believe, if this turns out to be more of a permanent thing down the line. Once, hopefully, and obviously, once all of this illness issue subsides, there is the potential that this could be the new normal. And I do think there are some disturbing facts around that. I'll save that for a separate time. In the moment here, no problem. Sports interviews do not carry near the same weight as trying to get this coronavirus, under control. And then around 7 p.m. California time on Monday, Santa Clara County makes its announcement banning all gatherings of 1,000 people or more for the next 3 weeks, starting on Wednesday. And they did say things like schools, malls, and airports were all exempt from this. So that gives the Sharks pretty much about, 2 hours to respond like they did at about 9 p.m. And I do want to say this, complete speculation, but I have a feeling that the Sharks had been planning for a lot of different options with the San Jose Barracuda and with the SAP Center's involvement. Everybody was all on the same page there, but I don't think they knew or had any heads up that a statement and a mandate like this was going to be coming down from the county of Santa Clara. I think they were a little bit blindsided as to the delivery of this message. But anyway, at 9 p.m., the Sharks released their own statement with the Barracuda and with SAP Center saying that they will adhere to this mandate. And so that brings us to the question of where does this all stand now? Well, the Sharks' next scheduled home game is March 19th. And they actually have 3 games across this next 21 days. If we're going to say that it's only going to be a 3-week ban and that's it, well, 3 games would be impacted. But even if it goes on longer than that, and I say luckily, but it is that, luckily there's only 5 home games left on the schedule this regular season. Luckily in a sense that, we're not just starting the season or half a season needs to be figured out instantly. For the Sharks, this is difficult. Don't get me wrong. but it could be way less manageable than what they're going to have to try and figure out here in the coming hours and coming days. But I feel like on that note, and this doesn't just go to the Sharks or even a sports team. This goes to all of us. I think looking back, as the present will someday turn into the past and will be history, we're going to look back on the coronavirus and say, we did some smart things to prevent it. We beat it. I mean, clearly it's taken a toll already, not just in lives, but in way of life and financials. So there's two ways that it's going to come out. People did the right things. We were preventative. We were ahead of it. Or we're going to look back and say, wow, we made some dumb decisions, had some bad moments. And so I think with any decision that gets made here in the near future, everybody's going to want to be cautious about that second outcome. Nobody's going to want to look back with regret and think that we could have done more. Doing more right now, although it may sound a bit extreme, I'm telling you, in the future, if this turns out not to be a big deal, great. Then you can think that part of your actions were because of that. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into the politics of a virus, but it's amazing that issues like that have come into play with something that only has to do with the health and well-being of human beings. Let's get back to hockey. Let's get back to the Sharks. What exactly are their options here? Well, they could cancel the remaining 5 home games. And when I say cancel, they can't really do that. That's absolutely not going to happen. They can't really postpone them without the league's endorsement, right? There's a schedule that everybody plays by. There's travel for road teams and home teams and arena dates, which you'd think now might be more open if other events are also being canceled. And like I said before, the Sharks and hockey and sports are just the tip of the iceberg in terms of canceling events. But they're not going to cancel this entirely. So the other option is to play these 5 games, or 3, in front of an empty arena. And I think that's highly possible. In fact, as I record this here on a Monday night, that's my first inclination, is that you're going to see the gray and black seats of SAP Center as the only onlookers to a couple NHL hockey games. And that's unfortunate. It's going to cost the team. It's going to cost the league. There are going to be some huge setbacks as part of this. But if this is what's going on, and this is what it requires, then this is probably what's going to happen. There's another option, too, of moving these home games to be road games. But again, that's also difficult with logistics. There's a reason that road teams come in the sequence they do. They're on a specific trip. So, to go play, let's say, the Boston Bruins back in Boston, boy, that's a whole different trip that the Sharks did not plan to make. So that one seems logistically difficult, if not impossible, to me also. The only other thing besides playing in front of an empty arena that makes sense is to be using another local arena. And again, this is equally difficult. None of this is easy, but I'm talking about maybe the arena in Oakland. I'm talking about maybe Stockton, where an AHL team plays, potentially Sacramento. And I think a lot of people have talked about 2 places on the peninsula being the Cow Palace, all right? And you heard my laugh. This is not a laughing matter. None of this is. But that's a pipe dream. It's not logistically possible. It's a fun thought. It's a sentimental thought, but it's never going to happen. And the other one is Chase Center. A lot of people have been saying Chase Center in San Francisco would be an option too. However, I'm not exactly sure if they've held an ice event yet in that building. Not positive. And obviously the creation of ice, a huge part of pulling off a hockey game. Not to mention the seating arrangement and capacity, and there's so many things to think about. So you'd probably want to go into a building where hockey is played already. Stockton kind of seems like that place right now in the immediate area. But there's also this. Santa Clara County was the first to come out and say, no events with more than 1,000 people. Well, what's to make you think that if the Sharks orchestrate all of this by March 19th, right, they have 10 days to figure this out. Let's say they find another location for their next home game, or 2, or 3, or 5. And then that location is also shut down by its respective county. I mean, it's nuts to think about all the brain work and leg work and manpower and woman power that's going to go into trying to get all this right and trying to make everything normal. And it's like you're fighting an uphill battle that maybe nobody's going to win. You're going to make some people upset here. And that's my last thought on all of this. The Sharks in this situation, and granted, like I said before, there will be other teams, there will be other stadiums and arenas and leagues and sports, which are all going to be affected by this greatly in North America. It's just that the Sharks are the first. But the position that all these teams are going to be in is you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't play the games. It's a tough spot. You have to appeal to fans and politicians and counties and states and leagues and other teams and players and what the schedule looks like and what non-sports people are going to say about all this. There is just so much going on here right now with this. I mean, I'm always fascinated by the stories of sports. This one, I wouldn't use the word fascination. This is more of a life story. This is difficult. I'm interested to see how everybody gets out of this difficult situation, not just with sports, but obviously how we get past the coronavirus itself.